right, good morning, guys. As promised, I wanted to touch base with you and make sure that we are clear on NGO video expectations and how to really just move through the directions and really big things to pay attention to. So for the most part, I've had a couple of you reach out and ask me some questions about the proposal. Wonderful job. Most of you have done a great job of kind of tinkering and tailoring with the feedback that I did give you. So nicely done. Don't forget that today, Wednesday, the 25th, I am in office today, even though we are not having class, for you guys to work on the NGO video project. You guys can still stop by if you are on campus. I will be here for a good chunk of the day today, probably heading out about 3. So if you need to stop by, if you want to ask questions, I am here. I am available. Please do so. Additionally, if you have any last minute questions up until the deadline, make sure to shoot me an email. Remember, knowing that you've had these days off to be able to work on the project, there will be 0, 0, 0 late accepted videos. 0. There'll be no deduction of points. There'll be nothing. It'll just be a 0. So please make sure that you are getting this done and getting it done on time. You've received the time to do it. You've received the feedback to do it. Please make sure that we're doing this appropriately. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and look at then, put this guy over here. Let's look at how and where to find information about the project. I hope by now we have looked into, the assignments. The assignments should be pinging right now and kind of coming up that the NGO video submission is due. But again, let's go down. Remember, you have lots of different places. First place is underneath modules. You have all the things. You have the NGO project proposal, you have the application that you've just moved through, and now, of course, you have the NGO project proposal pitch. So that is going to be due by this Sunday, and then the following Sunday, you will have to make 2 comments on student presentation. So let's go into the overview of this. Everything you need, everything as far as how to submit, where to find information, how to understand what goes into a good presentation. The overview of the entire proposal is here, right? So we can even start here. Again, what is the goal? You are forming an NGO. You are moving through and gathering that backbone information through the proposal that you guys put together and submitted. You've received that feedback. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take that information and, again, based on the feedback, you're going to fill in those details and you're going to give me a pitch. You are going to make this pitch to me, to the class, so to speak, as if we were all on city council and trying to determine if your NGO should receive grant funding from the city of Dallas, right? That's kind of the goal of what this is. So going back over here now we have some different requirements, right? Now you are going to put together a Shark Tank style 5. I know it says 5 because I'm trying to restrict you to, again, a good presentation. You should be able to get everything in that you need to within 5 minutes. It needs to go a little bit more, 6, 7 max, because just like Shark Tank, those people get that, 1 to 2 minutes, unless the sharks are asking them questions. But they really get 1 minute to 2 minutes to make their entire pitch. You have to sell everything about why they should invest in you in 2 minutes. So you've got to really know what you're talking about. Obviously, here I'm giving you a little bit more time, and I'm giving you a lot of guidelines for what goes into a good video submission, what goes into a good slide deck for a pitch. So the first thing I want you to do before anything else, before you start putting your presentation together, is I want you to look at slide deck requirements for the NGO video. So if you click over here, right, this has got everything for you. This has got everything that you need. How to make a nonprofit pitch deck. You can open this in a new tab, right? And it brings you to a YouTube video. And this is
Most people
really
have no
great.
clue
This
that
kind
in
of
2023
walks
the
you
best
through
way to make
all of the different things.
money on Amazon.
Let me put this on mute and we can get to the meat and potatoes of it. But everything that you have in here, as far as the overview of the slides that you will need to create when you go back, right? And you look over here into the slide requirements, you're going to notice that we've got roughly roughly up to 11 slides that you're going to potentially get through, right? And those are coming from the 11 slides that are presented here. So very first things first, watch this video. It's 9 minutes. Not only does it give you a great understanding of what the goal of what your pitch deck should look like, right? That's what you're putting together. You're putting together a pitch, just like the sharks are putting together. Hey, I'm pitching to you that you should invest in my company, into whatever it may be. This one is specifically geared towards nonprofits. So again, this is your guidepost for how to get into it, right? So notice here, this entire pitch deck presentation is about 9 minutes and 30 seconds, but they're giving you information in the background about why this information is important. So taking away the explanation of why this stuff is important, you're about down to 5 to 7 minutes that you should make this video pitch deck presentation. So again, go in here. This is your instruction manual for what you should be putting together inside of your video pitch deck presentation. Then, of course, when you go back, you're going to see I've put in some details that are now specific to this project, right? So you're going to take your proposal and you're going to translate some of those bigger questions, some of the details I said I needed you to expand on. Maybe I need you to go and find a little bit more details about the references. Maybe I need you to get a little bit more hyper-focused into an area in Dallas. Maybe I need you to find some maps and some locations. You're going to take all of that collective stuff and you're going to use that as your backbone, right? So those big questions can now be sort of spread into these different slides. And again, I'm making it very simple for you. You should have 11 slides, right? There should be no more, no less. This has got everything that you need. So now you know, how many slides do I need to have? I need to have 11. What needs to be on those 11 slides? Everything you see here in numbers 1 through 11, right? So that's the very first thing you're going to be graded on. Did you follow the directions and putting these things in, right? The second major thing that you're going to be graded on, how well are you versed in this? How well did you practice this? This is why I'm giving you these days to work on it. I really want you guys to put together a really solid pitch. Most importantly, that proposal and this video pitch can showcase to a talent of skills that you're honing in on. These are things that are going to be really important in your career. It doesn't matter if you're like, I'm going to be back of house and I'm not going to be worrying about people. You're still going to have to report to somebody else, right? That's the goal. And so learning how to put together a presentation that gives the correct pertinent information in a very short time span, that's a skill set that takes lots of time to hone in on. That takes years of practice. Think of this nothing more than a dipping of a toe, so to speak, into that experience, right? This is something you'll come back to. So aside from that, practice, 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 practice. You should know your slides verbatim. What is coming next? What is coming the next? You know, number 1 is my intro slide. Number 2 is this. Number 3 is this. And we shouldn't be reading, right? Again, I can't make the distinction between having to listen to you or reading something. If I'm having to just look at all this massive amount of text on your slide, I'm not paying attention to you. You're the star. You're the thing that's selling me why I need to invest in this. Don't lose sight of that. Again, some of you did a really nice job of putting in that personal story into the history, right? I went on this trip. I saw this. When I was a kid, I went out in nature. That is you selling what is the passion behind why you formed this, right? So again, make sure you're the selling point here. You're just using this presentation in the background as something to help keep me on track with why I should invest in it, because these are things you've thought about, right, as being a good company or as being a good organization. So let's go through kind of the overview then of what's going in these slides. Again, introductory slide. right? Traction slide. Again, this will make so much more sense when you watch the video. So that's why I say go watch that video first. Make sure that you are giving me, insight. So again, the traction slide, this is where you're selling me the story. Hey, I went on this trip. This was really inspiring. Overview slide. Follow this to the video pretty closely here. The slide provides context for the rest of the presentation. What do you do? What do you advocate for? This is kind of your mission and vision, right? Who are you? Then you're going to tell me why I should care. Why is this a problem? This is not where you're going to go into the research. This is where you're going to say, hey, right now, I want to look at homelessness inside of DFW. I want to hone in, and I'm specifically looking at one particular area of Dallas because what I've done the research on is there's nobody in this area investigating homelessness or really stepping in, right? Now you want to give me facts and stats and figures. Did you know that homelessness causes, 50% of Dallas lights? I don't know. I'm making these numbers up. Don't make these numbers up. Go find that information, but make it big, make it splashy. I want to be sold. Why should I care about this? This is where you're drawing me in on emotion. Wow, I didn't realize this was a problem. Geez, that's a big number. Wow, somebody should do that. And why is it only over, in Richardson, and why not in DeSoto? Why is there, this is where you're connecting that gap for me of your passion and the actual data to support it. So you're going to have to do a little deep diving. Most of you kind of got that feedback from me in the last round of your NGO applications and in the video, right? I did a little bit more explanation in that. Don't forget that if you're giving me facts, stats, and figures, you have to give a reference to that. So wherever you're pulling information from, right, you should have a little in-text citation or a little footnote at the bottom, very small text. And then again, you're going to be making a reference slide at the end of this, because again, I need to know where you're pulling this information from. You cannot just make up these pieces of information. The information is out there. The history of your problem is out there. Go find it. Go use it to your advantage, okay? Now your budget slide. This is where, again, there's gonna be a little bit of imagination, right? You don't have actual numbers. You don't have these things. But to the point of what are you going to do? What are you going to advocate for? So again, going back to the organization that wanted to work on trees. Fantastic. That's great. Is there a specific tree type? How many trees do you want to plant? How much is that going to cost? Right? You don't necessarily have to go down to the deep nitty gritty, but you can make a guesstimate of a running budget to tell me, right? Here's how much I would probably need for staffing. Here's how much I'm going to need for resources and volunteer opportunities, maybe food. I'm going to need printing costs. I'm going to need to purchase trees. I'm going to need to buy equipment to plant the trees. I'm going to need to maybe buy a truck, right? You're kind of having an imagination of what you think a budget would look like for your problem. And again, if you go back to NGOs, if you click on NGOs and just maybe type in a nonprofit that's similar to the work you're doing, most of these have an annualized budget. They're going to have to show you that. As a nonprofit organization, I have to tell you what I'm spending my money on, because if I'm trying to get tax exemption for that, or tax exemption for that, I should say, I have to be very open and transparent with how I'm spending my money, right? So you're going to have to do a little research here. It's a 4,000 level class, guys. The expectation is that you are approaching graduation. You should have some concept of how to go out and find information on the internet at this point, right? You're all doing it on a regular day-to-day basis to answer solutions to other problems. Use those skill sets here. You've got to go out and do a little digging and a little deep diving. So market size. So again, where are you doing this? Some of the questions I asked, is there a specific age group? Is there a specific demographic? Are you only wanting to work with women? Are you only wanting to work with children? Are you only wanting to work? This is where you're kind of giving a demographic breakdown. And again, here's where a map could be helpful. Here's where information. So again, go back to the nonprofit video pitch. It does a really nice job of showcasing these bigger ticket items and how to make it splashy and big. Don't put a ton of text on there. That's not the goal of this. You're trying to get me very fast, right? Why do we like Instagram and TikTok? You're getting bits of information very quickly. It's keeping your attention very, very fast. You're not getting gobs of text. You're watching somebody do something for 4 seconds and it's making you giggle and you're going on to the next thing, right? You need to find the way to sell it appropriately. Okay, marketing outreach. This is where you could put in your flyer. Maybe you needed to do a little adjustment to the flyer based on the feedback. Again, you want to say, this is an event we're going to hold. This is one we've already done. Whatever you want to say. Again, there's a little bit of imagination here you're going to have to play with because you didn't put this together. You haven't done this. But again, we've all played imagination or video games. We put ourselves in these characters. You can do that here, right? It's not a big stretch. Competition slide. Again, where else is your market? Where else are nonprofits? How else are you going to be different? Again, this is where when I gave you feedback on find a hyper localized thing that you are creating a niche for, doesn't exist anywhere else. That is where you're trying to sell that point. Sustainability, this goes back to the question in the application. How are you planning on being sustainable? Talk through some of those bigger things. And then finally, as for all NGOs, this is some of the biggest thing that a lot of NGOs, even that are currently running, that don't get right. How are you going to measure success? Are you going to do surveys? Are you going to get public feedback? Are you, how do you want to measure your success? How are you good? If you now could step outside of watching your NGO being productive, being effective, being efficient, being something that you would want to say, hey, I kind of want to do a volunteer day for them. They seem like they're pretty awesome. What would make you want to do that? You would want to know how their impact is being measured. You would want to know, wow, they planted 10,000 trees last year. That's impressive. I got to get in on that. I want to know what they're doing. Or wow, they reduced asthma in a specific area. Or man, they saved, they provided homes to over 50 homeless veterans last year. Whatever it may be, right? This is how you are going to make the pitch. This really is the most important slide in your presentation. I say this because funding is going to come and go, right? But how you showcase that you're spending your money. It's not just based on, oh, look, we got to give X amount of jobs, or oh, we planted X amount of trees. It's how are you showing me that you're thinking through the context and community, the context of optics. Optics is so important, right? The optics, everything now is, did you say the right thing? Was it appropriate? What are your optics going to be? How are you getting the community involved? Are you involving children? Are you involving schools? How are you impacting the change inside of your organization, right? These are big questions, but these are such important skills, guys, that I cannot promise you they'll never go away. This at 11 slides is going to be things that you're going to have to do in your job, any job, over and over and over and over again in some capacity, right? Your measurement slide is basically every time that you're going to be at your job, justifying that your position needs to be kept. Here's what I do. Here's how I can justify that. Here's why you should keep me, right? That is what this is. That's the most important slide in the presentation. Thank you and reference slide. Again, this is where you maybe want to do a last minute recap. Hey, thanks guys so much. I hope you really enjoyed it. Probably a lot of you have some really cool video aspect skills. You've got some things, whether you are making videos for your friends or sending each other stupid memes or posting stuff on the internet, right? You probably all have your own little version of swagger to you. This is where you want to close it out. This is where I really want to see your personality shine. This is your last attempt to get the class and me to vote for you and give you the money, right? To give you the financing to keep you going. So again, read through what is guaranteed to earn me as close to an A as possible. Inclusion of all aspects of your slide deck and enthusiasm and practice and presentation and non-direct reading and an engaging, right? This is all about you. And again, I completely understand that some of us may be uncomfortable in front of a camera. I get it. Then make your presentation as tight and amazing and exciting as possible. If you don't feel as confident, then you gotta make sure that presentation is beautiful, flawless, right? And you shouldn't be reading from it. I should not see you sitting here and doing this. If you just read like this and you should invest in me, I'm telling you guys right now, you're automatically at a B to start. I will be moving your grade from an A to a B to start. You've got to try. You've got to put in a little bit of enthusiasm, right? You've got to engage. That's part of what this is. Okay, I don't want to beat that horse. So, is there anything else beyond the video submission I need to do for this project? Yes. You must then support your classmates. So the very last part of this, and we'll touch base on this next week in class, is you're going to need to support your classmates. This is where you're going out and now you're putting on the hat of voting. You're going to say, hey, I did like this, I didn't like that, right? And these are some questions that you're going to have to answer. I will answer this next week, but that's the last thing we'll have to do for this project, right? And that wraps up the very first major part of the project that you're going to have to do for this class. So that's it. I know that that is a lot, but I mean, I want to make sure that you guys have this at your disposal. And the reason, oh, and then the last thing I want to showcase here. Going back to the NGO proposal. So that's all the details of the proposal. That's the slide deck requirements. Let's see if I can. Okay. There we go. So back here, now the very last thing that you have to do, the last major portion of your points. So first is enthusiasm, practicing non-direct reading. That's number one, right? Numbers 1, 2, and 3. The second major component, the third, fourth, fifth, whatever. ADHD is raging right now. You must be in compliance with the video submission format. The reason I am doing this for you is so you can come back to this. Believe it or not, this is something I have had students tell me. I actually put that in. I actually submitted that. I actually showcased that. I actually was able to use this to speak to. I actually used the format because I couldn't remember because the directions went away because I was done with the class, but I got to go back to the video and I was able to see the things that I had to make sure to put in there. And it helped my presentation skills down the road in my job. So you have to do it this way. Everybody here has access to Zoom, so you can log in. We are all familiar with Zoom. We just came out of the era of Zoom, still using Zoom. I have a couple different videos to showcase how you will record a presentation. So again, there's a feature inside of here. Most of you probably are familiar with how to do this at this point because you maybe had to do this in another class. The next thing you have to do, and you must do this. If you don't, again, you're going to lose significance. You have to take the Zoom recording and convert it now into a YouTube video. And again, this is the only way I can guarantee that you will continue to have access to this. Once you leave this institution, once you leave the university, you aren't going to have access to Canvas. You're not going to have access to Zoom in the same capacity. You may have access to Zoom at your new job, but it's not going to be through our organization, and you're going to lose the access to your recording. Okay? So with that being said, you have to convert this into a YouTube video. And then I have, again, some step-by-step steps. Exactly. I have handheld you through this, guys. And most of you have probably done this already for another class. So you must do this. If you, again, I will reiterate this again. If you simply copy and paste the link of YouTube, put it into the presentation or into the discussion board. If I see a link and I don't see your video, you're going to lose significant points. That may move you if you've got no enthusiasm and you haven't practiced and you're reading directly. That's a B. If you don't follow the directions and put all the other components of the 11 slides in, you're already at a C at best before I even listen to your presentation. Okay, so please take this seriously, right? This class does not have exams. There isn't, an exorbitant amount of work here that we've had to move through. This is when I'm going to grade you very, very, robustly. I want this to be right because, again, I know the value in it. So I have beaten this horse. If you want to know even further, when it comes down to just the pure utilization of the content and what is inside of the grading, besides the things I've already mentioned, here are the other things that you will be graded on. Once I get past those first two of following directions, putting a YouTube video together, enthusiasm, practice, non-direct reading, and 11 slides that need to be in there, then here's the next meat and potatoes. This is what you'll be graded on. So again, you've clearly got it mapped out to see exactly what you're going to be graded on. Go all the way. Forget 1 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 7. Just go to the 8 to 10 point range over here, guys, and make sure you've got it all in there. The biggest thing I see with students, non-practicing, massive amounts of text, non-references to the appropriate things, and direct reading and non-enthusiasm. Again, I don't need you to be a rock star. I don't need you to be, full of pizzazz, but I need you to just sell it. You know what I mean? And again, if it makes you a little bit uncomfortable and you're just a little bit uncomfortable in front of the video, that's okay. Then make sure your presentation is top tier, right? That is the saving part of this. So all that to be said, everything is here for you guys. Everything that you need is here. If you have any questions, again, I'm on campus until about 3 today, maybe a little bit later. If you have any other questions besides that, shoot me an email. Zoom still exists. We can absolutely set up another, quick discussion call if you can't come today, or if you can't ask the type of question that you need answers to in an email response, right? Maybe it's like, hey, Dr. Murray, this is kind of what I'm thinking through, but I don't really know if this is appropriate. I just wish I could talk to her. Shoot me an email. We can set up some Zoom time. That's not a problem at all. All right, guys, I've beaten the horse across the board. Go. I am excited. I cannot wait to watch these. I really do. It's one of my favorite projects that students work on. So come see me. Good luck and stay dry out there because it's really hot. So take care. Bye.